So it rarely snows in South Beach, but last night there was a cavalanche. After winning Game 4 by 55 points, the Cavaliers, they outscored the Heat by 122 in the 4-game sweep. That's the largest scoring differential in a series in NBA history. This was also the 11th time in Cavaliers history they swept an opponent in the playoffs, but it was the first time that they did it without LeBron James on their roster. LeBron led the way on the previous 10 sweeps that they'd had. And Miami has now lost 7 straight playoff games, extending the longest losing streak in Heat postseason history. They've lost those games by a combined 190 points on an average of 27.1 points per game. That's the worst point differential in any 7-game span in NBA postseason history. Here are the Heat on looming offseason decisions.
It was humbling. You know, this series was humbling. These last 2 games were embarrassing. But we won whatever we won. They won 65. We're as irrational as we usually are, thinking that we have a chance to win this series.
Tough, you know, last two games for us, both 40-point, 50-point losses, really no excuses for it. It's embarrassing, you know, and definitely humbling, you know, a lot of work to be put in.
There's going to be a lot of changes this summer. Just from my point of view, understanding how, you know, the guy with the silver hair works.
Whew, yikes. All right, now joining us, front office insider Bobby Marks. Bobby, where do the Heat stand heading into the offseason with a motivated Pat Riley, as we just heard?
Well, I'll give a little bit of positive news right now from Miami. Right. There is a foundation in place when you look at Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and Khalil Ware. Now, here comes the hard part. How do you add a first, second, floor, and a roof without touching your foundation, right? When you look at where Miami is going into the offseason, they've got the 20th pick in the draft. If they had missed out on the playoffs, they would have had a lottery pick. They've got $65 million in potential expiring contracts. Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson. Is the picks, 2 of them in 2030 and 2032, is the picks and expiring contracts good enough to go get yourself a star player without trading Hero and Adebayo? I don't think it is, but Malika, there's a lot of work to do in Miami, and certainly these 2 losses certainly confirms that.
Yeah, bleak is the word. When we were speaking, you used time and time again, Bobby, in talking about the decisions that Miami has to make here. Danny, what's the biggest change that you think the Heat need to make as they plan for this offseason?
I mean, with what Mr. Marks just said, Bobby, how you doing? Thanks
Mr. Marks, I love it.
It's hard to find.
Don't make me sound old, Danny Green.
You're still young, Bob. You're still young. But what he just said, they don't have much to give, but their best bet is to try to find a big star in the offseason. You know, people talking about Kevin Durant. Giannis, really, they hope that the Bucks lose and that Giannis wants out. Obviously, Dame is hurt now. That was a guy that they were trying to get before, who was going to be out for next season. The only guy they really can get is either Giannis or KD, and this is the target. But it's hard to get Giannis with the pieces you have. Milwaukee's not going to want Terry Rozier, Davion Mitchell, or...
Is it hard, Bobby, or is it impossible?
It seems impossible, because they're going to have to give up Bam or Tyler Hero. But, Bob, you can have more information than I do. So, Bob, you let us know.
I think either player is going to be a challenge. I think they're going to probably be in the back of the line of teams that have more available. You know, certainly we're talking about maybe Houston as one of those teams that have young players and draft picks here. I think the big question in Miami, and this is not their DNA, would they ever use the R word, which is rebuild? I think that's something that it's very hard threading the needle. They've been a play-in team consistently the last few years. Would they ever consider taking a step back, potentially taking the Oklahoma City approach? And I know that was a lot of pain doing so, and basically build this roster through maybe you get a core player back and draft picks and going in that direction here, because it's going to be hard. Basically, they're going to be where they are right now a year from now if there are no changes here. So it might have to be taking a step back and not have to go and star chasing.
Bobby, there's actually 2 R words when I think about teams evaluating after falling short of expectations. It's not only rebuild, it's also, okay, maybe if we don't go full rebuild, maybe it's a reset. Do they do a competitive reset? Because they have 2 players that are expected to be premier players in the NBA, in Bam and Tyler. If you add that one piece, which by the deals, it's going to be tricky. One thing I have noticed is that they've been conservative in finding out who that person is. interested, as you mentioned, Danny, on Dame. KD at the trade deadline, his name came up as information like, oh, potentially could go there.
Right.
They've been patient, but now I think this game, I mean, at one point they were down 60 points, the most we've ever seen in playoff history. They have to look hard in the mirror and make a decision, because right now, after a performance like that, you have to reset.
Right, but it's hard thinking that they had that other piece in Jimmy Butler and it didn't totally work, right? And even Tyler Hero telling Jared Weiss at The Athletic that he knows this series, it could have been different if Jimmy Butler was there. That's why there's such hard conversations. You know what? It happens to folks at times.
At a weak moment.
It happens at times. So we like to talk about the victors on this show. On the other side of this series, the Cavaliers, they were impressive in the sweep. Here they are on advancing to the next round.
I was telling Jalen Tyson, man, like, this is special. I was telling him, like, this is your first playoff series. This is what you're watching. It's like something that isn't normal. Like, you know what I'm saying? So for us, understanding that this is special. We've been doing special things all year, but we didn't come here just to sweep in the first round and get to the second. You know what I mean? So the goal is how can we, take advantage of this rest, this break, and then be ready to go for next round.
Here's the thing. They dominated the last two games and didn't even have Darius Garland. They redefined dominance in this series. But the most dangerous aspect of this Cleveland team moving forward into the second round, Bobby, is what?
Well, I mean, listen, I think when you look at from a Cleveland's perspective, I think it's their depth. I mean, I think when you look at it with Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter coming off their bench, I think that being healthy is important. The layoff now with Darius Garland, be able to kind of rest here, certainly missed the last two games here. And you look at the two teams that, they could potentially face, likely going to be Indiana.
Right.
They're going to be refreshed when we get to a conference semifinals.
With how they're playing and how healthy they've been, I see them as the favorites in the East right now. Boston is struggling against the Orlando Magic, and right now Cleveland is rolling, and they're laser focused. I love what they're doing and how mature they've been.
Interesting. So you say that they're the favorites. We know that, like you said, Boston is dealing with Knicks and Knacks. But when I'm looking at this series performance by the Cleveland Cavaliers, you outscore your opponents by 122 points. You win 2 out of the 4 games without your all-star. One of your players has won Defensive Player of the Year. You had, in the moment that you needed, your top player, Donovan Mitchell, dropped like 20 in the fourth quarter to seal the deal. Like, you've checked every literal box on top of being healthy. Like, this might be their time.
Yeah, it seems like they are winning in a variety of different ways, and that's the most impressive part. And the 1 seeds, they've been completely dominant during their round 1 sweeps. The Cavaliers, they win by over 30 points per game. The Thunder by almost 20 a game. It's just the second time both number 1 seeds have swept their first round series since the first round moved to a best of 7 in 2003.
Cunningham driving, pull-up jumper, no good. Harris battling, loose ball on the floor. Hardaway, 2 seconds left, puts up the shot, no, and the game is over. Bickerstaff is on the floor and Ray. The Knicks take a 3-1 series lead.
I don't know any other way around it. There's contact on his jump shot. The guy leaves his feet. He's at Timmy's mercy.
You guys saw it. Played.
It doesn't get more dramatic than the ending here of Game 4, but now the page flips to Game 5 as we say hello to our reporter Chris Herring here. Chris, that was a heck of a finish, but how are the New York Knicks approaching trying to close out this series?
Well, I think they're going to be really, really determined because they know that the Pistons are going to come in angry. They're going to want to come in understanding that the officiating may not go their way in light of the Pistons losing on a call that didn't go their way, that they're going to kind of go in almost as if they're underdogs here to try to get a knockout punch, to try to clinch a series at the Garden for the first time since '99. And I think that they're also going to go in with the thought that if they're able to keep this game close and keep it competitive the same way that they did in the first 4 games, that they're going to get to Brunson at the end of the game, where he's just been a killer in this series. He's averaged 13 points in the fourth quarter of this series, which is the most that any player has averaged in the play-by-play era in a playoff series in fourth quarters. So if they can just keep it close and really take Detroit's best punches throughout this game, I think they're going to feel confident going into the last few minutes of it.
Chris, thank you so much. This series has been an all-out brawl back and forth. It has been so much fun to watch. But I think our girl Shanae, she may have the answers to this test for the Knicks. There's no one who is better at breaking down tape than Shanae.
Roll the tape. Oh, snap. This is my sister squad. I have something up my sleeve. Shh.
Big Cali energy here at the Intuit
have a big cheat sheet on the Jumbotron. The biggest cheat sheet ever. Look at that finish. Turnaround 360. She has been balling. They ain't settling. Texas stays winning. Oh, hey, let me talk nerdy to you. I know the Pistons fans are probably still in their feelings, so I'll be nice. Let's focus on the numbers, because if the Pistons are going to try to stave off elimination, they will need to do 3 things. First, they have to corral Big Cat. He hit 5 threes last game, so your adjustment is that you have to guard him once he crosses half court. I love this play. Brunson said, get out of the way. I'm attracting 2, 3, a crowd. Now, if you're in deny, next pass the way, you have to have your arm in that passing lane. But most importantly, you got to have your hand up, not down, because he's a knockdown shooter once he crosses half court. Again, in transition, he does his damage. Your hand has to be up. You have to change and alter this vision. He is way too comfortable in these scenarios. So that's one. How about number 2? The Pistons have to slow down his partner in crime. That's the clutch time player of the year. Wake up, wake up. Jalen Brunson just won the award, and in this series, he is showing you why. Averaging 13.3 points in the 4th quarter alone, the most in the NBA. And overall, he's dropping 33 per game overall versus Detroit, so it will take a 48-minute effort. And last but not least, Cade, you have to be a closer. Cade has been phenomenal this year, and in the postseason, the problem is, you know what, you think about it, he missed his bunnies in that 4th quarter. He went 2 for 7 in that final frame. None bigger, that bunny that he missed, than the final possession. Look at these plays right here. These are shots he can make in his sleep. Now, the load, he's shouldering a lot. But if these shots go down, they are competitive, and maybe they won't be looking like an end-of-game possession will dictate your course in a series. So the Pistons, they will need to bring their defense and have motorcade in cruise control once again.
Which of the 3 teams that are down 1-3, they have the best chance at extending their series? We're talking about Orlando, Detroit, or Milwaukee, all in action tonight.
Yeah, I got Detroit. I feel like Detroit was literally the right referee call away from shooting 3 free throws with Tim Hardaway Jr. This series should be 2-2. It's not, but they've been playing the Knicks very well. The Knicks' experience have got them over the hump, obviously in a missed call, but they're up 3-1 right now. I think Detroit is right there on the brink of getting a victory if they can figure out how to slow down Brunson in clutch time.
Yeah, I'm with Booz here. I think this should be a unanimous decision. Detroit, this should be 2-2, but I see a big night from Cade tonight. You know, he struggled a little bit in that 4th. I see him refocusing, coming in, and executing those shots. He's going to have 25 plus tonight and probably 10 assists and 6 or 7 rebounds. So I see a big night for him, and they also have their vets. Tim Hardaway had a great night. Malik Beasley, those guys are going to step up. I see them winning tonight.
Yeah, and they also have the confidence of knowing that they've done it before. They figured it out down the stretch to get the win, their only win. So I'm going to go with Detroit amongst that group.
Yeah, Milwaukee is injured. Detroit, I agree, has been well documented. Orlando is pesky, though.
Yeah.
They are going to be interesting to watch. They are not going to lay down right? without a fight. Sometimes those hostile environments, that brings the best out of you. Whatever happens, we'll be here to document it all with you tomorrow. See you then. Same place, same time. Yonsei.